Amidst the vast expanses of rice paddies, where each grain seems to promise hope and prosperity, an intense, silent battle often lurks unseen. We welcome each emerging rice seedling, viewing it as a sign of life and a bountiful harvest. But did you know that right alongside those fragile young shoots, uninvited invaders thrive? They are weeds, wild plants that, at first glance, are simply part of the rice paddy ecosystem. Ironically, behind the simplicity of these weeds lies a complex and brutal biological threat to the future of our agriculture. We often focus solely on the end result, reduced yields, without delving into the root of the problem. How exactly do these cunning weeds affect rice seedlings at this most crucial stage of their life? Are they simply competing for nutrients, or is there a much deeper and more damaging mechanism at the cellular level, perhaps even through the release of certain chemicals that inhibit growth? The crucial question is, if rice seedlings, the foundation of the entire crop, have to fight tooth and nail just to survive the intimidation of weeds early on, how much growth potential are we losing? Can we allow our investment of time, effort, and seeds to be slowly eroded by these green competitors? In-depth research reveals that a single clump of weeds at the wrong time can cause permanent stunting in rice seedlings, reduce the number of productive tillers, and even affect the plant's ability to withstand pests and diseases later in life. So, let's unveil the danger zone surrounding rice seedlings. What are the hidden, significant, and often overlooked effects of rampant weeds? And most importantly, how much financial damage does this archenemy we've long underestimated cause? Prepare yourself to discover astonishing facts that will change your perspective on the importance of weed control from the very first day the rice seedlings are planted. Weeds, or pest plants, are one of the main biotic factors contributing to significant declines in rice yields. Rice yield losses due to weed competition are reported to range from 15% to 42% nationally, and can even reach 87% if weed control is not carried out effectively. These negative effects of weeds occur primarily through competition and, in some cases, through allelopathy. Competition between weeds and rice seedlings is a competition for limited essential growth factors, which disrupts the physiological and morphological processes of rice seedlings. Rice seedlings, especially in the early vegetative phase, are highly susceptible to weed competition. Some aspects of this competition include the following. 1. Competition for sunlight. Weeds often have a faster growth rate and a more efficient canopy architecture for capturing light than rice seedlings, especially during the early stages of growth. Impact on rice. Taller weeds, such as some grasses or broadleaf weeds, will shade rice seedlings. This shade reduces the light intensity received by rice seedlings, which is crucial for photosynthesis. Reduced photosynthesis directly inhibits the production of carbohydrates, photosynthates, which are a source of energy and raw materials for growth. Morphological effects. Light deficiency triggers rice seedlings to undergo a response known as etiolation, which is an increase in stem length, but with smaller diameters and weaker tissues. Furthermore, light deficiency significantly reduces productive tiller formation and total rice tiller biomass. 2. Nutrient competition. Weeds generally have more aggressive and efficient root systems in absorbing nutrients, especially nitrogen, which is a key nutrient for vegetative growth and tillering. Impact on rice. Weeds absorb most of the available nutrients in the soil, causing nutrient deficiencies in rice seedlings. Nitrogen deficiency, for example, will cause rice seedlings to experience chlorosis, yellowing of the leaves, and stunted growth. Physiological effects. Nutrient deficiencies inhibit the synthesis of proteins, nucleic acids, and chlorophyll, which are vital components for cell division and metabolism. As a result, the growth rate and leaf area index of rice decrease drastically, directly affecting yield potential. 3. Competition for water. Although lowland rice generally grows in flooded areas, competition for water still occurs, especially around the root system. Furthermore, in cropping systems with insufficient water or when water levels are reduced at certain stages, weeds will rapidly absorb groundwater. Impact on rice: weeds experience higher transpiration, water evaporation. Under water-limited conditions, this competition will cause rice seedlings to experience water stress, which inhibits cell formation and enlargement, and reduces the rate of photosynthesis. 4. Competition for growing space. Competition for growing space involves competition above ground, canopies, and below ground, roots. Impact on rice: high weed densities cause rice tillers to touch each other and their roots to overlap. This physically inhibits canopy expansion and the development of the tiller's root system. Rice tillers become stunted, brittle, and less able to compete structurally. In addition to competition, some weeds can also harm rice seedlings through allelopathy. Allelopathy is the ability of plants to release chemicals, allelochemicals, into the environment that inhibit the growth of other plants. Mechanism: certain weeds, such as some Cyperus or Echinocloa species, release phenolic compounds, terpenoids, or other organic substances through root exudates, decomposition of plant debris, or volatilization. Impact on rice: these allelochemicals are absorbed by rice seedlings and disrupt physiological processes such as A. Water and nutrient uptake, inhibits root cell membrane function. B. Cell division and elongation, disrupts growth hormone synthesis. C. Photosynthesis and respiration, reduces metabolic efficiency. D. Tiller formation, directly inhibits tiller bud initiation. The ultimate effect is inhibition of rice tiller root growth, reduced plant height, and the number of tillers formed, even with adequate growth factors. The influence of weeds is particularly critical during a specific period in the rice life cycle, known as the critical period of weed competition. 1. Critical phase, early vegetative. The critical period for weeds in lowland rice generally occurs between 2 and 8 weeks after planting, but can vary depending on the cropping system. This period is when rice tillers are at a highly sensitive tillering stage. Impact: uncontrolled weed presence during this phase will result in a permanent reduction in the number of productive tillers. Unformed or suppressed tillers during this phase cannot fully recover, even if weeds are removed in a later phase. 2. Impact on final yield components. Weed pressure during the tillering phase will continue to have a negative impact until harvest through. Number of productive tillers, the most significant decrease. Stress tillers tend to produce unproductive tillers or no flowering at all. Plant height: rice plants are stunted and have weak stems. Number of panicles per plant: the number of panicles formed is reduced due to the reduction in productive tillers. Number of fully filled grains per panicle: competition for nutrients and water in the early vegetative phase affects the development of flower primordia, resulting in a decrease in the number of full grains. Percentage of empty grains: plants weakened by weed competition during the tillering phase are more susceptible to environmental stress during the grain-filling phase, increasing the percentage of empty grains. 1,000 grain weight: the weight of the resulting grain tends to be lower. Overall, disturbances in the rice tillering phase, early vegetative, have an impact on reducing total biomass and decreasing the harvest index, which directly causes a drastic decrease in grain yield per unit land area. To minimize the negative impact of weeds on rice tiller growth, control must be carried out in an integrated and timely manner, especially before and during the critical weed competition period. Scientific strategies include cultural control: using rice varieties that are highly competitive with weeds, fast-growing, high-tillering, planting healthy seedlings at optimal spacing, which can shade weeds, and regulating water levels, which is very effective in suppressing grasses and sedges. Mechanical or manual control. Weeding is carried out by hand or mechanically before weeds reach significant height, generally 2 to 4 weeks after planting, to eliminate competition during the most vulnerable tillering stage. Chemical control. Selective use of herbicides at appropriate doses, tailored to the dominant weed species and the rice growth stage, usually pre-emergence or early post-emergence herbicides. Effective control during the tillering stage is key to ensuring strong, productive tiller development, which will maximize yield potential. Would you like to know specific details about the recommended dosage or type of herbicide for a particular dominant weed in rice paddies? Please leave a comment so we can update you on the next video. Thanks for watching.